halls of the university, eager to meet Jungkook after her final class. The day had been long and draining, and the thought of being in his arms was the only thing keep her sane. Jungkook had been her everything from the past year, her protector, her lover, her king. He was the mafia boss everyone feared, but with her he was tender, loving, and most of all, loyal. A smile tugged at her lips as she headed towards the garage where her black Mercedes was parked. Jungkook always treated her like a queen, and in his presence she felt untouchable. But when she opened the door of his office, ready to surprise him with her presence, she froze. There, in his lavish furnished office, was Jungkook and his secretary, a stunning woman with dark eyes and a body to match. The woman was pressed up against him, their faces dangerously close, her hands on his chest. The sight alone made Vine's stomach twist. She couldn't breathe. Jungkook was supposed to be hers, yet here he was with another woman, almost kissing her. Time seemed to slow as Vine's heart shattered. She had trusted him with everything, and now this. The betrayal was raw and deep. Jungkook, her voice come out as a whisper, barely audible, filled with confusion and pain. At the sound of her voice, Jungkook's eyes snapped open. His expression shifted from one of irritation to shock. Baby, he began, but she couldn't take it. Before he could say another word, Vian turned and fled. She ran through the corridors of the building, her feet pounding against the floor, her tears blurring her vision. She didn't stop, she couldn't. The love they shared, the trust, had all been shattered in a moment. She needed to be alone, to think, to breathe. By the time she reached her apartment, her chest was tight, her breath raged. She slammed the door behind her, leaning against it as she slid down to the floor. What had she seen? Her mind couldn't comprehend the scene. The way Jungkook had looked at the woman. Had he been cheating on her? Her phone buzzed again. Jungkook 8 missed calls. One hand trembled as she picked it up. She didn't want to hear excuses, didn't want to hear his explanations. The tears she had been holding back started to fall freely. Then the text come in. Where are you, baby? I'm sorry. Please let me explain. But Vine couldn't bring herself to respond. She wasn't ready to hear him. Her mind kept replaying the scene, his eyes on her, the way he acted. It was too much. She couldn't stay in this relationship if the trust was broken. The doorbell rang. Vine jumped, her heart pounding in fear and anger. She wiped her tears away, telling herself to calm down. She wasn't going to let him in. She needed space, but the doorbell rang again, louder this time. Vian head snapped up, her breath hitching. The door handle rattled, then a familiar voice, low, dark, and furious, sent a shiver down her spine. Open the door, Vian. Her heart leaped into her throat. He followed her. Jungkook, go away, she choked out. A humorless chuckle vibrated through the door. Go away? Oh, baby, that's cute. She scrambled to her feet, stepping backward as the air grew heavy. Then, crash. The door swung open, the lock snapped clean off, and there he stood, Jeon Jungkook. Stormy eyes, wrath covered into his perfect face. Dressed in all black, his muscles tense, his jaw clenched so tight it looked painful. He stepped inside, slamming the broken door shut behind him. What the hell? You broke my door. Vine shouted, panic rising. Jungkook scooped, stalking towards her like a predator. You think a door can keep me away from you? Vine took another step back, but he was faster. With one swift motion, he grabbed her wrist and yanked her into his chest. You ran from me? His voice was deep, dangerous. Do you have any idea how insane that makes me? I was upset, she stammered, struggling in his grip. You? Jungkook let out a dark growl. I told you, I don't do anything, but instead of listening, you ran. His grip tightened around her waist, pressing her against him. His scent, leather, musk, and something purely Jungkook filled her sense. Let me go. Never. His nose brushed against her jaw, his breath hot. You belong to me, Wyan, and I don't let what's mine run away. Her heart pounded wildly. Jungkook pulled out his phone and pressed play on a video. The CCTV footage from his office appeared. She watched in stunned silence as the truth unfolded before her. The secretary tripping, Jungkook catching her only for a split second before pushing her away. Wyan felt her stomach drop. Oh God, she had misunderstood everything. Jungkook's finger tilted her chin up, forcing her to look into his blazing eyes. See that? His voice low, controlled but deadly. Do you believe me now? Wyan swallowed hard. I am sorry. Jungkook's dark chuckle sent a shiver down her spine. Sorry? His hand slipped to the small of her back, pressing her even closer. You think sorry is enough after chasing me like a madman? She gasped as his lip coasted over her. Jungkook, no more running, baby. His tone flicked against bottom lips before he bit down gently, making her whimper. Next time I will tie you to my bed if I have to. One breath hitched. The possessiveness in his voice sent heat pulling in her stomach. You are mine, Jungkook murmured, his lips tracing her jaws, his hand gripping her thighs, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure you never forget that. Wine trembled against him, her pulse racing. She had pushed him too far, and now she was about to pay the price. He lifted her, throwing her over his shoulder like she weighed nothing. Jungkook put me down, she yelled, pressing against him. He let out a dark chuckle. Not a chance. His large hand squeezed her thighs possessively as he carried her to her bedroom. The door slammed shut behind them with a finality that sent a shiver down her spine. She barely had a time to react before he dropped her into the bed, caging her in with his body. Jungkook's eyes burned with something wild, something dark and dangerous. He trailed a single finger down her cheeks, his touch feather light compared to the storm raging inside him. You run from me, he murmured, his breath fanning against her lips. Like I wouldn't tear this whole city apart to find you. Wine swallowed hard, her body betraying her as the heat collided in his stomach. I was scared. His jaw clenched, his hand wrapping around her throat, not to hurt her, but just enough to make her feel his dominance. Scared of what? Huh? He growled. That I would actually cheat on you, that I would touch another woman